Welcome to another episode of
Nigerian Kitchen.
Nicely remembered. Welcome to this travel episode in season 2 of the Nigerian Kitchen. In this episode, I hope to give you an idea about safaris in Botswana and to show you that traveling in Africa is not as inaccessible as it might seem. I was unsure about going to a 4-country Southern Africa adventure just because I hadn't budgeted for it, but my friends convinced me it would be worth it. They said it would be the trip of a lifetime. It turns out they were right. I'm incredibly thankful I decided to say yes to going on this last-minute trip with my 2 friends, Bobby and Michael. And our trip started in Botswana. We experienced the ultimate budget safari, chasing wildlife and local food. And although Botswana can be considered an expensive destination for tourists, you can get around this by choosing to self-drive and do mobile camping. Hiring a 4x4 is a great way of exploring the country's natural beauty. We hired our 4x4 from traveladventuresbotswana.com. We had more flexibility and freedom to drive around the country and spend time in some of the most beautiful landscapes. The advantage of hiring a 4x4 camper is that they offer plenty of space for cooking and storing food, keeping everything together in one place.
As long as you get the vehicle and the equipment, it's not too bad as long as you keep your momentum. It's a lot of shifting around and making sure you're in the right gear, but overall, if you got a good beast like this, it's not too bad.
Let's see the pressure.
At 3 right now. Ways to go.
I will say it comes with downsides though, like the constant need to inflate and deflate our tyres for the different road conditions. And there is the fact that we're not experienced 4x4 drivers on sand and ended up breaking down at one point and had to use a satellite phone to call the hire company to come and help us out.
Okay, all right, thanks. Bye. 15 minutes?
A little bit more risky, I guess you'd say, but then a lot more fun at the same time. There are a ton of camps in Botswana that offer a variety of services to meet your individual needs and budget. Naturally, the safari lodges with the most luxurious amenities are also the ones that come with the highest price tag. However, if you are on a tight budget, there is no need to worry because there are still plenty of options out there. We camped in tents for most of our 7-day trip across 5 different campsites. And all of those sites were close to national parks. Now it's often more expensive to stay in the parks, so a good money saving tip is obviously to stay outside the parks and just get day tickets to go in. Now we did treat ourselves to 1 night in proper accommodations on the last day of our trip at Chobe River Cottages, and it was so good to have a proper shower after 7 days of camping. Now safari is the perfect way to explore Botswana's diverse wildlife. It honestly blew my mind to see so many of these animals in real life in their natural habitat. So our aim was to try and spot all the big 5 animals, and we didn't quite check off the full list on this trip, but what we saw was pretty impressive.
So it's been pretty good so far. We've seen more elephants, we've seen
Giraffe, buffalo, zebra.
The number 1 tip is to book your safari well in advance. We booked our safari about 6 weeks in advance, which meant we couldn't always get our preferred camp, as most of them were booked out. Second tip is if you are short on time on your trip to Botswana, consider staying in some of the bigger cities and just getting day tickets to go and visit the parks. You can still get a lot in. If you get there early and stay late, it's still well worth it, and you won't regret the sights that you'll see when you're there. The third tip, I really do advise staying on or camping near the national parks. This really allows you a chance to get close to wildlife. I remember one time I was preparing our supper and an elephant just decided to roam into our camp.
Yeah, get in the car if need be. It's fine, it's fine. Wow, look at Bobby Jones being...
I'm just looking after you guys. I'm gonna have to stare at an elephant. I thought I'd do a lion, but not an elephant.
Or the one time when I was having a shower, And I peered over the top, and there is an elephant just drinking from a watering hole. And finally, the fourth tip, if you can afford it, I would actually recommend that you do go on a guided tour. We did a day Chobe River guided tour, and we got so much more from the experience when we were with someone who knew where to go, where to look, and could tell us so much more about the habitat and the animals. The fourth thing is, get out of your vehicle at every opportunity so that you can experience the nature firsthand.
Keep moving. Bruv! I'm on the roof. Can we keep moving, please? You're a joker.
Although I will also say, be careful of going off the allowed areas in the park. We did end up getting in trouble once with a ranger. So let's get down to it. Food on the trip. Now, a big part of this trip for me was hunting for food. And when I say hunting for food, I don't mean getting up at dawn with guns and going through the shrubland. As someone who has a YouTube channel focused on food and culture, I was hoping to sample a lot of local delights. In some ways, this was probably the most disappointing part of the trip. Firstly, we were on self-drive and camping in and around national parks for most of the trip. So I guess we're hardly going to run into local restaurants in the middle of the shrub. Now, this is not to say that we didn't have some great meals, but clearly those would be catered towards tourists and, dare I say, a more Western palate. If you are on the hunt for more local fare, you will definitely have to get off the beaten path. So overall, how much did our trip cost? Our 4x4 hire cost about $170 per day, which works out to about $1,200 for 7 days. The cost of the campsites for 7 nights, with fees for entering the different parks, was about $1,000, and we stayed 1 night in proper accommodation for about $150. Groceries in total cost us about $170 for 7 days, and other meals that we had in lodges and campsites and restaurants cost us about $390. So all of this comes to a grand total of about $2,910. That is just short of $1,000 a person, which is exceptional value, especially if you consider that standard safaris in Botswana can cost anything from $4,000 a person for a fully inclusive guided safari. So if you are considering going on a safari when travel becomes a thing again, I say definitely go for it.
So it's our last day in Botswana, and we're finishing off with a river cruise around Chobe. Seeing the wildlife there, the landscape, honestly, it's absolutely breathtaking, and I highly recommend to anyone who can come down and see this that you do. But I think particularly if you've got any kind of connection with the continent itself, there's just something it does to your soul. Being on the African continent. Botswana, it's impressed me with the safety, with the friendliness and openness of the people, and actually a real hopefulness. And I think that's what really the second series for me is going to be about, is really taking the best of what this continent's got to offer. And seeing how that inspires me to make great food. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you next time for the next episode of The Nigerian Kitchen.